Hey, in this video we are going to write a small code, but in this code we are going to do a very interesting thing. So let's quickly get started. See, previously we have seen how we can create variables, we have seen how we can initialize them, we have seen how we can change their value after initializing them. In this video what we are going to do is we are going to see how we can get the value from the user, how we can tell the user to enter some value, and whatever value user is going to enter, how we can store that value in our variable. This is very interesting. See, you must have interacted or you must have come across multiple systems which needs user to enter something. For example, ticket booking system on railway stations. It's a perfect example. So if you go to ticket booking machine, then it will ask you how many tickets you want, how many passengers are there, or what is the age of the passenger, something like that, right? So many a times it happens that we need to take input from the user. So in this video we are going to see how we can take input from the user. Let's quickly get started. I'll start with including the header file. So I'll write hash include iostream. Then let's use namespace std. So I write using namespace std, and then write main function with return 0 at the end. Now what we'll do is we'll create one variable. We'll create variable, let's say int I underscore var, and let's keep it empty initially. We'll not put any value in it, we'll not initialize it. Now what we have to do is we have to take input from the user, and whatever user is giving as the input, we have to store it in this variable. And once we store it in this variable, whatever input user is giving, once we store it in this variable, we'll simply print it on the screen. Okay, that's the only thing we are going to do in this code. So in order to take input from the user, or in order to take input from the standard input, that is your keyboard, you have an object in C++ that is called as cin. See, in order to print something on the screen, we have an object called as cout. So similarly, in order to take input from the user, we have an object called as cin. See, this object term might be irritating for you because right now you don't have any idea about the object. But whenever we'll move into object oriented C++ programming, at that time you will get an idea about what is this object. But right now just remember, cout and cin are the objects. And I also told you that endl that we use for end line or new line, that is also an object. So cout is used for printing something on the screen. Similarly, cin is used for taking input from the user, or for taking input from the standard input. So what is the syntax of cin? It is very similar to cout. What you have to do is you have to write cin. Now in case of cout, you write left triangular brackets. In case of cin, you have to write right triangular brackets. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll write cin followed by two right triangular brackets, and then whatever variable in which you have to dump the value which user is entering, you have to write name of that variable. In this case it is going to be I underscore var. So imagine it in this way. See, let's imagine that cin is one object, or cin is one input stream, and you are extracting the content from that input stream into ivar variable, and your user's keyboard is connected to this cin. So whatever user is typing from keyboard, it's coming to cin, and from there you are extracting it into your variable. So it's something like this. Okay, and in cout what happens is you put data on cout. Okay, you insert data on cout, and cout is connected to your monitor, it's connected to your screen, and from that it prints data on the screen. Okay, so let's quickly, once we write this line, what is going to happen? The data which user is going to enter, it's going to be stored in this variable. After this, what we'll do is we'll just print content of this variable. We'll also add endl after this for new line. Cool, let's quickly compile and execute this code. Let's see what happens. So I'll write g++ followed by name of the file. See, name of my file is 03userinput.cpp. So let's compile it. You can see it's got compiled successfully. Whenever file gets compiled successfully, that means we don't have any errors in the code. Our syntax is accurate, so that's why the code is going to be compiled. And now we have a.out file. So let's execute this file. So for that I'll write ./a.out and let's hit enter. Now you can see that this cursor is blinking over here. So it is waiting for our input. because we have written cin over here, so it's waiting for our input. So what we have to do is we have to enter some input. See, in this case the variable is of integer type, so you have to enter some integer over here. So what I'll do is I'll enter, let's say, 45. Now once you enter your value, you have to press enter key on the keyboard. So I'll just hit enter key. You can see once I input, or once I give 45 as the input, and after that once I hit enter key, on the next line it is again printing 45. So why it is printing 45? Because 45 is getting stored in ivar, and then after this on the next line I am printing content of ivar, so it is printing 45. So in this way this code is working. So I hope now you have got an idea about how the cin works. So cin is very simple. You just have to write cin, then two right triangular brackets, and then variable name in which you want to take the input. Now let's try with some more variables. So what I'll do is I'll create few more variables of different types. So I'll write, let's say, character cvar, let's say float f1 underscore var. So for float, what I'll do is I'll create two variables. So I'll write float f1 var, and I'll write on the next line float f2 var underscore var. See, while declaring the variable, let's say I have to create two variables of float type. So in this case what I'm doing is I am writing it on two different lines, but instead of writing it on two different lines, we can actually create them on a single line as well. That is also feasible. So what we can do is we can remove this float from here. I'll just take this f2 in the same line, and I'll write comma in between them. So in this case also we are kind of creating two variables, f1 var and f2 var. This is very similar to the previous syntax or previous way of creating two variables of float. It's just, I'll say, a more compact way of declaring the variables. And let's say in this case you want to initialize them, then you can initialize them over here. So let's say you want to initialize f1 var with, let's say, 0.0f, and similarly f2 var with 0.0f. You can do it like this. Now let's say you want to take input for cvar, f1 var and f2 var as well from the user, then you can do it like this. Let's say I'll write cin cvar, so I'll take input for cvar. Okay, then similarly I'll take input for f1 var, and I'll take input for f2 underscore var. Cool, it's very simple. Now let's compile and execute this code. Let's see whether it is working or not. So yeah, you can see again it is waiting for our input. So I'll enter 11. This is the first input. Then I'll hit enter. Then it is again waiting for our input, next input. So in this case I will enter small a. Then again it is waiting for our input. I'll enter 1.1. It's again waiting for our input. In this case I'll enter 2.2 and then enter. You can see that we have inserted four different values. 11, this is the first input, then small a, this is the second input, and then 1.1 followed by 2.2. These are the inputs for f1 var and f2 var. So all these values are getting stored. Now if I print all these values, so let's print all these values. So I will print them in a single cout statement. So how we can do it is, so what I'll do is I'll write one more double triangular brackets. See, this double left triangular brackets are called as insertion operator. See, in the next module we are going to discuss about the operators, but right now just remember this double left triangular brackets are called as insertion operator, and double right triangular brackets are called as extraction operator. Okay, so I'll write insertion operator, then I'll write double quotes, and I'll give space over here just to separate or just to have some space between the values. And after this I'll print, let's say, value of cvar. I'll print cvar value over here, then again I'll give some space in between. Then after this I'll print, let's say, value of f1 var. Again I'll give some space. Then let's say print value of f2 var. And after f2 var I don't need to give any space, because anyway after that my line is ending, or I'm printing new line. Okay, so let me execute this code again by compiling it. So let me enter same value 11, let's say small a, let's say 1.1, let's say 2.2. You can see it's printing 11 followed by small a followed by 1.1 followed by 2.2. So in this way our code is working. Now in this case you can see that for getting the value from the user or getting the input from the user, we have used cin and we have written it on multiple lines. So instead of writing multiple lines for cin, we can actually club it together as we do it for cout. So what I'll do is I'll write cin, then extraction operator ivar, then I'll just club this extraction operator over here and I'll write cvar, then I'll just take it on the same line. This is also feasible. See, ultimately meaning is same, you are ultimately doing the same thing, but this makes the syntax little more compact, I'll say. So this is also going to work similar to the previous syntax. Okay, now I want to show you one more thing. So what I'll do is I'll just clear the terminal and I'll compile this code again and I'll execute it. So while entering the value, what we used to do is we used to enter one value, then hit enter, then second value, then hit enter. Instead of that, there is one more way. So what I'll do is just focus over here. Let's say I want to enter value 11 for first variable, that is ivar. Then let's say I want to enter small a for second variable, which is cvar. So instead of giving enter, you can also separate them with space. So what I'll do is I'll write 11, after 11 I'll give space, then I'll write small a, after small a I'll give space, then I'll write, let's say 1.1, after 1.1 I'll give space, I'll write 2.2 and then I'll hit enter. This is also very similar to the thing that we did previously. So previously we wrote 11, then we hit enter, then we wrote small a, then we hit enter, and so on. Over here what we are doing is we are writing entire thing on the same line by separating things with spaces, and once the line is finished or once we have completed writing all the values in the line, then we are hitting the enter.